Let's bow together, please. Dear Father and God, what an honor to come before your throne of grace. But we do not gather here wearing rose-colored glasses. No, Father, we know America is in trouble. In your book of Psalms, it says, "But God is the judge. He puts down one and exalts another." Father, you exalted Donald Trump to be our Republican nominee for president. And we know he has the capacity and that it is his goal to make America great again. We thank you for him. We ask that you give him wisdom as he campaigns. We ask for your protection for him and his family. All of us involved know that we are campaigning for the very soul of America. America, founded on the Judeo-Christian ethic. We can give it our all, Father, working, hoping, praying for victory. But in the end, it will be you who will put down one and exalt another. However, we can come confidently before your throne because we know that Donald Trump's goals for America line up with your word, with our Constitution, and that they are righteous goals. Therefore, we pray that you will exalt him and tear down the awful unrighteousness that has inflicted our nation and made so much worse these last 8 years. The moral decline, the national debt, the lack of care for our veterans, the unjust treatment towards people of faith, the increased racial tension, the disrespect for the authority of our police force, our failure in the Middle East allowing ISIS, the increased threat of terrorism right here in America, and the fact that we have become a magnet for illegal immigrants. None of this originates with you, Father, and we pray that you will deliver our nation from this oppression, that we might once again be that shining city upon a hill. Yes, it will take a supernatural, a spiritual work by you to turn our nation around, but it is also just as true that you use men and women to do our part. Thank you for all of the exceptional elected officials we have in our state and our country. And we do pray that you will once again raise up Senator Ron Johnson to the United States Senate. Now unto him who is able to keep you from falling and to present you faultless before the presence of his glory with exceeding joy, to the only wise God our Savior, be glory and majesty, dominion and power, both now and ever. And I pray all of this in the wonderful name of Jesus. Amen.
Good evening, everyone. Please join me in reciting our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Good Lord. How's everybody doing tonight? Well, I want to welcome you to Waukesha County. You know, Waukesha County is the reddest county in the state of Wisconsin and one of the reddest counties in the entire country. We are proud to be represented in Congress by Senator Ron Johnson, Congressman Jim Sensenbrenner, and the Speaker of the House, Congressman Paul Ryan. We hear it every time. We know that this is an important election. We know that every vote counts. So I'm going to ask you, are you ready? Are you ready to help us get every vote out in Waukesha County in the state of Wisconsin? Are you ready to bring a landslide victory that will, for the first time since President Reagan, turn Wisconsin to a red state? Are you ready to stop the third term of the Obama administration? Are you ready to stop listening to the lies of Hillary Clinton? Are you ready to keep the Clintons out of our White House? Are you ready to make America great again? This is a tough question. Do you guys know who the leader is that's going to help us make America great again? Who? Who? You got it. You know what? America has struggled under the Obama-Clinton recession. We have corporations still taking jobs out of our country. We have an image across the entire world that has been weakened because of the last 8 years of the foreign policy of the Obama-Clinton administration. Don't you think it's time for new leadership? Don't you think it's time for a leader who knows how to win? Don't you think it's time for a leader who has created thousands of jobs himself? Don't you think it's time to have someone in the White House who has the strength and vision to lead this country forward? So I'm going to ask you guys again, do you guys know who can bring us back to make America great again? Who? All right. We have 40 days till the election. Are you ready to help bring Wisconsin to Donald Trump? Are you ready to make America great again? So who's the leader who's going to make America great again? Who? Who? You guys are rocking it tonight. It is my privilege and it is my honor to introduce the next speaker, a great friend of mine, State Representative Adam Nealon.
Hey everyone! It's an honor to be here today. I'm Adam Nealon. I'm a state representative here in Waukesha. Go Waukesha County. This is awesome. Thank you. And like Donald Trump, I don't consider myself a politician, but a businessman, a husband, and as of 2 months ago, I also consider myself a father. Thank you. We often hear that this is the most important election of our lifetime. How many times, who's heard that out there? And you know, it gets to the point that it's almost cliche, but now that I have a 2-month-old daughter, it's really starting to hit home. What type of world is she gonna grow up in? What type of opportunity will she have? The status quo is failing. The status quo is failing her. And Hillary Clinton, she represents that very status quo. While Donald Trump was growing an international empire, he was running that international empire, Hillary Clinton has been running from law enforcement. She's part of the problem. You know, the narrative out there is that we're not motivated, we're not fired up. The truth is, more people voted in the Republican primary in Wisconsin than any time in the history of Wisconsin. The most voters. It's because of people like you that we're gonna take this country back. And it's because of leaders like our next president, Donald Trump, that we're gonna make America great again. But it takes more than just enthusiasm and more than just a candidate that really understands what needs to happen to grow our economy and create jobs here in Wisconsin. It takes people that understand how to win elections. Elections have consequences. And this election matters and we need to win. And the only way to do that is to have a strong party that understands how to get people to the polls and to vote and you know, all of you need to get out and tell your neighbors and get them to the polls, but we also need the help of people like the next speaker who understand the very mechanisms that go into growing our party, bringing more people in and getting them to the polls. With that, I want to introduce the state chairman of the Republican Party, Mr. Brad Courtney. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. I have one question for everybody. Who wants to help me make Wisconsin red? I have an assignment for everybody. take out their cell phone and text Trump to 88022. I'll repeat it one more time. Text Trump 88022. That's how you're going to get information from the national campaign. And now I'm going to tell you how to get information from the local state party. We have 31 offices around the state where we need to identify conservative Republican voters for Donald Trump, Ron Johnson, all over the state. We're on a 40-day sprint towards Election Day, and as of now, ballots are now being cast around the state. The race is tied, and we need to get our people to the polls and win this race for Donald Trump and the rest of our American team. The only way we can this is the only way we can be real change to America. So we need people to go out in their neighborhoods to the campaign offices that we have set up around the state. We have 31 of them across the state. Volunteers are knocking on doors, making phone calls, and this is how we're going to win the election. This is how we did it for Governor Walker during his recall and his 14 race, knocking on doors. You can go sign up with our staff. They're going to be staff people outside before you leave, or you can sign up and fill out a card, or you can check out our website, wizgop.org.volunteer. We have a full list of offices and a staff member that can contact you again. So I'm going to say, text Trump at the number 88022 and go to www.wizgop.org/volunteer. And again, everything we do between now and November can and will make a big difference. So let's go win this one in November. Thank you so much. Before I introduce our next speaker, one more commercial. Text Trump to 88022 and go to wizgop.org/volunteer to sign up. Now it's my privilege to introduce to you a wonderful former state senator from Racine and now the DNR Secretary, Kathy Stepp.
Yes. Woo! Oh, man. I wish you all could see what I see right here today. I see the faces of patriots who love their country, Wisconsinites who are determined to make a change. We've done so many great things at our state level already with our fantastic Governor, Scott Walker. And man, I can feel it in the air. We are just getting started. So I'm here today to talk to all the women in the crowd. And yes! And I especially see a lot of faces of strong, smart women all over. Are you tired, like I am, of being lectured to by the media and so-called women's groups that we should support Hillary Clinton just because she's a woman? The strong, smart women that I know vote for somebody based on policy, not anatomy. The policies that we care about deal with our economic security and our national security. And we want a candidate who has actually built something, who's done something with his own hands. Somebody who signed both sides of a paycheck for a change. And we also want a leader, a competent one, who understands and respects classified information. Somebody who would never put the entire country and the patriots serving abroad at risk for convenience. Strong, smart women. We're worried about many things in this country. We care about the challenges of obtainable, affordable health care for our children. We want a great health care, child care system in place for our families. We care about education. We care about being able to choose where our kids get to go to school. We respect and treasure our husbands, our sons, and our daughters who serve in our country, in the military, And they deserve a strong commander-in-chief, someone who is supportive of them, a candidate who loves and values our veterans. And we all know, and so does our candidate, that they deserve the best medical care available in the country on their return. So this is our time, ladies. It's time for us to stand together and to talk to all of our other friends and to share these concerns and talk about solutions and ideas. And it's time to choose our candidate and to stand behind the one person in this race who gets it. The one person in this race who can relate to the challenges that our families face every day. And that candidate is Donald J. Trump. My job is also to remind you, if you haven't already done so, to take out your handheld device and make sure you text Trump to 88022 so you can help in the effort as we wind down these last few weeks. Thank you, everybody, for your spirit, for your passion, for your commitment to Wisconsin, for your commitment to the future of our children, our nation, our veterans. We can do better. And this November, we will do better. Yes. USA, USA, love it. USA, 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 USA. It is now my honor to get to introduce a very distinguished guest who's joined us tonight. For some of the younger faces, some of the millennials in here, you might not know this gentleman, but you're going to have a chance to get to hear from him today. He served with distinction and honor for Wisconsin in the U.S. Senate during the Reagan years of 1980 and served up until 1992 from Wisconsin. Would you please give a warm Waukesha County welcome to Senator Bob Caston.
Kathy, thank you. It feels like 1980. Most of you weren't here in 1980. So a few of you were. In 1980, there was a presidential candidate that wasn't supposed to be up on the issues, wasn't supported by the Eastern media, wasn't supposed to be knowledgeable about the issues. He was a governor from out west, and people didn't think much of him. And at this moment in October, we've got 5 more weeks to go, 1 more week of September, the month of October. Both Ronald Reagan and I were behind in Wisconsin. And if you remember, November came and Ronald Reagan was elected President of the United States. I defeated Gaylord Nelson with your help, and we can do it again. We can do it again. We can bring all this together once more. And we're going to do this. This country is uniting behind Donald Trump. This state, we might be 1 or 2 behind, we might be 1 or 2 ahead. This state is uniting behind Donald Trump. Waukesha County is uniting behind Donald Trump. And we're going to put this together the way we've had in the past with recalls for Scott, with the work that we've done, with all the work over the years. We're talking about jobs, we're talking about growth, we're talking about opportunity, and we are uniting for Donald Trump in America. We are going to make America great again. And Donald Trump is going to make America great again. Hillary Clinton keeps talking about experience. Well, what kind of experience does she have? Look at the experience and understand, going back again, the importance of peace through strength, the importance of a strong military, and frankly, the importance of supporting men and women in blue uniforms, our police force here in the United States of America, and our firemen, and the people who are working. But look around the world at Hillary's experience. Look at Syria. Weakness presenting danger. Look at Libya. Weakness presenting danger. Look at Yemen, weakless, portraying danger. Look at North Korea with the nuclear bomb. Weakness, presenting danger. We believe in peace through strength. And Donald Trump will restore our military budget, get rid of the sequester, fund the things that need to be funded, and we will once more lead the world from a position of strength, and we will lead the world toward peace. The candidate of peace is Donald Trump. The candidate of danger is Hillary Clinton. It's just as simple as that. And we can do it. I want to thank all of you for being part of this movement. It's growing every single day, and as I said before, it will continue to grow. There are a couple thousand people who weren't able to make it into the hall. They're outside, and they're joining with us too in heart, and we're going to go forward together. We have, because we're a purple state, because we're a state that can go either way, because we're a state right now that's too close to call, we have a unique opportunity that someone in a solid Republican state doesn't have, or frankly, someone in a solid Democratic state doesn't have. We have the opportunity to switch that 1 or 2% to make Wisconsin electoral votes go to Trump and to help Trump become president of the United States. We have that opportunity. Many people don't have that opportunity. There may be 8 or 10 states in the country that can do what we can do. So darn it, let's do it. I look forward to working with you to elect Donald Trump, the next president of the United States of America. Thank you all. Great to be with you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. This is fantastic. You know, I've been all over this great country the last year, meeting great Americans like yourself. This is a movement like this country has not seen since the 1980s when Ronald Reagan ran for President of the United States. You know, it's really interesting what's going on, and a lot of people are getting involved late, but that's okay. I always say better late than never. But many of you have been on board from day one. I am sensing something is happening here. I really am, and I'm really excited about it. And I'm so proud to be a part of this Donald Trump campaign. Donald Trump understands us, he understands you, and we understand him. Donald Trump is going to provide the leadership that this country has not had in a very long time. Donald Trump understands, and talking to the American people, that there are three main issues. There are a lot of things involved in this campaign, but there are three main issues that are bothering the American people. The first is the threat of radical Islamic terrorism. The second is that many of our cities are being overrun by violent crime once again. And Donald Trump understands that economic prosperity is very important to this country, and he knows how to jumpstart this economy again, to put people back to work and to change the tone in Washington, because you know as well as I do that the people in Washington, D.C. inside that bubble are disconnected from us here at ground level. Totally disconnected. And you and I know that they're not listening to us in Washington. We the people don't matter anymore, but Donald Trump understands better than anybody else. And there were some great people that ran in the Republican primary, but nobody could connect to the American people like Donald Trump could. And we're about 40 days or so out from Election Day, and I know there's some early voting that's already started, but I'll tell you what I'm seeing on this side that I'm not seeing on the other side. I'm seeing an energized base. I am seeing a base that can't wait to kick the door down and go in and cast a vote for Donald Trump to be the next president of the United States. So hang in there. Okay, and I believe that there are people who were defined for a moment in our great American history. George Washington was made for the American Revolution. Abraham Lincoln was made for the Civil War. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was made for the Civil Rights Movement. Ronald Reagan was made to win the Cold War. And I believe that Donald J. Trump was made for this moment of turmoil here in the United States. And together, Donald Trump and we the people are going to make America great again. Now I want to introduce a man that all of you know, one of the biggest cheerleaders for the state of Wisconsin, former Governor Tommy Thompson.
Isn't it great, ladies and gentlemen? The last time that I was in this hall was with Senator Bob Caston and Ronald Reagan. And if you remember back in 1980, people were afraid to say the Pledge of Allegiance. Remember that? Remember the fact that there was a malaise, they said, across America. There was a president by the name of Jimmy Carter that said, I don't know if there's anybody around that can be president of the United States and run this country. Do you remember those days? And then the press said, well, we can't trust Ronald Reagan. We can't trust him because we don't know if he knows what he's going to do. Remember those? But there was a movement, ladies and gentlemen, a movement like today, a movement that Ronald Reagan said, we are sick and tired of people tearing down our flag, taking hostages in Iran, and saying we don't believe in America anymore. USA is right. And then Ronald Reagan came riding in on his beautiful horse. And as soon as he got elected as President of the United States, Iran buckled and let the hostages come home. Remember that? And then Ronald Reagan went to Germany and he said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down these walls. And everybody started looking up and saying, I am proud to be an American. And I am proud, like you, to be an American. And just like Ronald Reagan went down as a great president, we have the opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to elect another individual that is bringing a movement of patriotism, of supporting law enforcement officers, of getting tough with criminals and saying, you gotta have law and order. It is not afraid to say, I am going to take it to the Islamic terrorists, and we are going to defeat them, just like Ronald Reagan said, tear down the wall. Donald Trump says, we are going to defeat the Islamic terrorists. Remember that? Remember that. So, ladies and gentlemen, the thing between us and Hillary Clinton, is not getting our votes out in Waukesha County, the southeastern of Wisconsin. And you know something? If we do our job, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have a new direction in this country, a new Republican president, a new movement, something that is patriotic and believes in God, believes in the flag, and believes in this great country. And all we have to do is stand up and tell those individuals that have not seen the light yet, some Republicans, it's time to get on the train. The Trump train is moving. We need you on the Trump train. Get on the train, ladies and gentlemen. We are moving America forward. It is time to make America great again. Let's get on the Trump train. Let's do it once and for all, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure. It's great to be a Republican. It's my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen. When 9/11 came, I had the awesome responsibility of getting a plane in the air that day. I declared an emergency because I heard from a mayor from New York and a governor from New York, George Pataki. And they said they needed 50 tons of medical supplies. They needed gloves, they needed medicine, they needed masks, and they needed people. And he called me. And we delivered. We delivered 50 tons of medical supplies. We were the only department that got a plane outside of the Department of Defense in the air that day. We delivered 50 tons of medical supplies to the city of New York. And I was in New York as the first representative of George W. Bush's cabinet, and I met with George Pataki, the chief of police, and the great mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani, and I said, Rudy, your country backs you. We love New York, and we're going to do everything for New Yorkers, and we are going to change this around. And Mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani, has now been called the mayor of New York, the mayor of the country, the mayor of the world. I give you the mayor of the world, Rudy Giuliani.
How are you? Are you excited? You having a good time? Well, we're going to have a better time because Donald Trump will be out here in a few minutes, or just a few things I want to say to you. First of all, it's a great honor to be here with Sheriff Clark, who's one of my heroes. I love to watch him on television. If I were still mayor of New York, I'd steal him away to be police commissioner in New York City. Like I stole away some people from Tommy when he was governor to do welfare reform, because you might remember Tommy Thompson was the first one to do welfare reform. And I learned how to do it from him. And he didn't just do welfare reform, taking people off welfare. He did welfare reform by taking people off welfare and giving them jobs. Hillary Clinton wants to give them more dependence on government. I call that locking people into poverty, and that's what people like Hillary Clinton and Democrats have been doing for years and years and years and years. That's why Detroit and Chicago and Milwaukee and other cities are in the condition that they're in. Because they've had, in the case of Baltimore, 50 years of Democratic rule, and African Americans and Hispanic and poor people are locked. They're locked into a system of dependency. And here's what Donald Trump wants to give them. He wants to give them the ladder to success. He wants to put down the ladder to success. And do you know what the ladder to success is? It's a safe community, a good education, and a good job. That's how you grow in America. You think you're going to do that by raising taxes on the rich? You know what you do when you raise taxes on the rich? You make everybody rich. I'll tell you why. My wife has a good friend. She runs a Pilates studio. 2008, she voted for Barack Obama. A year later, she found out she was rich because she was earning about $200,000 with her and her husband trying to put their kids through school. And then Obamacare came along, and it made her business for a long time profitless. She became one of the early members of the Tea Party. She found out about the lies. You know, you can keep your own doctor. Lie. You can keep your insurance policy. Now, I got to tell you the truth. Despite what you think of President Obama, in terms of telling lies, he's an amateur compared to Hillary Clinton. She is what I would describe as a professional liar. It is time. How long have we lived with Clinton scandals and corruption? How long? And how much longer are we going to live with more scandals and more corruption? I won't go into the scandals when he was in Arkansas, but everybody in Arkansas knows how corrupt he was and his government was. You had to pay the Rose Law Firm to get business from Arkansas. I used to put crooks like that in jail. Then he went to the White House. You had to pay to stay in the Lincoln bedroom. Poor President Lincoln has to be rolling over in his grave, paying for my bedroom. That was run by, I think, oh, I shouldn't say, but I think I know who ran it, but I'm sure Hillary had a lot to say about it. Then, every time a woman had come along and say that Bill Clinton did something to her, who was the biggest attacker of that woman? And she's a feminist? And then when she got into private life for a while, you know where her speaking fees were coming from? You know where her money for the Clinton Foundation were coming from? They were coming from countries in which they kill women, in which they stone women, in which women are not allowed to drive, in which women are considered to be property. And she wants to get up on the stage and lecture Donald Trump or me or you about women. And she's been the biggest attacker and taken the most money from countries that not only discriminate against women, but kill them. Okay, Hillary, you want a lecture? Want a lecture on that? Give all the money back. I don't think that's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think she's giving the money back, because I think that's what the Clintons are all about. They've always been all about putting the money in their pockets. Let me give you 2 examples and how she disgraced the Department of State, the way her husband disgraced the Oval Office. She took the State Department and she turned it into a corrupt pay-for-play. She sold out her oath of office. And there is nothing more disgraceful in this country than to sell your oath of office. I'm going to give you 2 examples. I could give you 12. I'll give you 2. There's a bank, a Swiss bank known as UBS. UBS had a long-term dispute with the IRS over giving up the identities of Americans who the IRS believe were evading taxes, were hiding money in Switzerland. They wanted, if my memory serves me correctly, they wanted something like 50,000 identities. So UBS figured out the good old pay-for-play system that worked in Arkansas and worked when they were in the White House, and they made a $60,000 contribution to the Clinton Foundation. That was like a little taste for the crooked Clintons. 60,000 will get their interest. I don't know, they may take 10, I have no idea. I'm not saying they're sophisticated crooks. I mean, they started off in Arkansas probably for, 20 grand, 50 grand, 30 grand. 60 grand for the foundation was okay. Then UBS figures maybe a little more is needed. So they give $600,000 to the Clinton Foundation. Now we're starting to talk like money. Hillary makes a special trip to Geneva. She meets with the IRS and she says, basically, go easy on UBS. The IRS employee who she tried to strong-arm said this was very unusual. He had never had a person reach out to him and do this from the State Department before, much less the Secretary of State of the United States. UBS now was real happy. They gave Bill a $1.5 million speaking fee for one speech. The highest he had ever received up until then was $300,000. $1.5 million speaking fee, and you're going to tell me it wasn't connected with her interceding with IRS for the UBS? If you can convince me of that, I'm not a New Yorker, and you can sell me the Brooklyn Bridge. And I'm not done yet. And then a $30 million loan to the Clinton Foundation, and I'm not done yet. The IRS only got 4,000 of the 54,000 identities they wanted. That is called conflict of interest. That's called bribery. That's called being crooked. That is called disgracefully selling one of the oldest and most distinguished offices in the United States, the first cabinet member. That's selling the office of Secretary of State. And you know Hillary Clinton did it. And you know the liberal press protects her against it because they protect her against anything and everything. Just watch the way Lester Holt conducted that interview the other night. Neutral questions to Hillary, loaded questions to Donald Trump. I know a lot about loaded questions. I used to do it when I was a prosecutor. He asked Donald Trump questions as if he was prosecuting him. And then he followed up. Not only that, he followed up and he was wrong on stop and frisk. Totally wrong. Completely ignorant of Terry against the United States. Decided in 1968, stop and frisk is constitutional. Donald Trump's description was totally correct. Hillary Clinton saying that the court found stop and frisk to be unconstitutional was wrong. And worst of all, Lester Holt backed her up. What's he, her campaign manager or a journalist? You want to know why? You want to know why we're upset about the unfairness in this election? Just go back and watch the way Holt questioned Donald Trump in comparison to the way he. You know what he asked her about the emails? How about the emails? Not. how about the fact, Mrs. Clinton, that you exposed more confidential to top secret information than anyone ever in the history of this country that we know of? That you know very well that the Chinese are hacking us, and the Russians are hacking us, and the Iranians are hacking us, and hackers are hacking us, and you exposed this information, and then you destroyed 30, 40,000 emails, and then you destroyed emails after you got a subpoena to produce them, and then you didn't just destroy them, you went out and you got a bleach, an acid that costs a lot of money, that only the most sophisticated criminals even know about. I happen to do cybersecurity investigations for a living. A lot of cyber crooks don't even know about this, but this one knew about BleachBit, and he used the BleachBit to get rid of what was ever on those servers. And then she had 13 cell phones. 13. Somehow, we can't find them. It isn't that she doesn't want us to see what's on them. It's just they disappeared. Well, a couple of them actually were hammered into little pieces. Bam, bam, bam. That's what criminals do, not people who want to be president of the United States. Now, I am not presently the U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York or the Attorney General of the United States. And Jim, but I have to tell you, I cannot understand why she's not being prosecuted. It has to be, we have a situation where the Clintons are too big to be prosecuted, too important. I'm going to give you another one. When she was interviewed by the FBI asked her if, when she was reading the secret documents, did she notice that at the beginning of a lot of the paragraphs, there was a parenthesis with a C. And I think she probably said yes, and the agent asked her, did you know that that meant confidential? And she said, no, I thought it was alphabetical order. Now, the agent didn't go on, which will give you a sense of how rushed and how incompetent this investigation was, because if this were one of my assistant U.S. attorneys or FBI agents, he'd have been fired if he didn't ask the next question. Only an idiot can't figure out the next question. Did you see an A? See a B? How about an X or a Y? Or how come you only saw C's, Hillary? And you know you were given training. I know you don't remember that you were, but I know, because I had top security clearance, you get anywhere from a 2 to 4 hour course from the CIA as to what all this means. But she doesn't seem to remember that. Kind of dangerous if we have a president who can't remember her top security briefing. Kind of dangerous if we have a president that doesn't know that C means confidential. Because if she doesn't know C, or she says she doesn't know C is confidential, there are only one or two conclusions you can possibly come to. She is too stupid to be president. We don't want a stupid president. Or, I don't mean to insult her, because she really isn't stupid, even though she failed the bar exam the first time. I always like to get that in there. But she really isn't stupid. She's a very intelligent woman. When she said that she didn't know that C meant confidential, what was she doing? Okay. That is a violation of 18 United States Code, Section 1001, which makes it a crime to lie to the FBI. A person you know, named Martha Stewart, went to jail for one lie like that. She wasn't too big to prosecute. That statement about the C is a damn lie. It is a disgrace that she is not being held to the same standard that you'd be held to or I would be held to. Let's not have her get her hands on the White House, because she will sell the Oval Office the way she stole the State Department, the way they sold the Lincoln bedroom. Isn't it time to end the Clinton scandals? Isn't it time to end the Clinton corruption? Isn't it time to put a man in the White House who's his own man? Nobody owns him. Nobody controls him. He's going to work for you. And I will tell you one thing about this whole Putin business. If Putin thinks this is a guy you can push around, I know Donald Trump for 28 years, and if I had to have somebody to negotiate for me, I'd take Donald Trump. He is tough. He is strong. He will face Putin with a military that it will be the biggest military in the world, because he's going to build it and she's going to reduce it. And when he stands up to Putin, Putin will know that he is standing up to a leader, to a person who will be able to match him on every point, in every way, and is not going to draw a line in the sand 12 times and back off the way our current president has done to the disgrace of the United States. We have one choice, one chance to put America in the right direction, one chance to make America great again, and that's Donald J. Trump. Thank you very much.
Hey, Bo. Hey, keep walking up. Voice of God, Mike. Right down to Houston.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you. A lot of people outside can't get in, but we honor those people. Is that correct? Great to be in Wisconsin tonight. No place like being in a Trump rally, do we, right? And no place safer than being at a Trump rally. You probably saw a recent Reuters poll had us tied in Wisconsin, up in others. And we're just in Iowa. We just got the number from Reuters also. We're 10 points up in your neighbor, Iowa. And a new post-debate poll that just came out, the Google poll, has us leading Hillary Clinton by 2 points nationwide. And that's despite the fact that Google's search engine was suppressing the bad news about Hillary Clinton. How about that? How about that? On November 8th, we're going to win this state. We're going to win back the White House. We're going to make America great again, believe me. By the way, great numbers out of Ohio, great numbers out of Florida, great numbers out of everywhere. North Carolina just came in with some great numbers. We're going to have some fun. This is going to be an interesting 40 days. Look at all these people. It's going to be an interesting 40 days. It's going to be a victory for you, the American people. We're going to end the Clinton corruption and restore dignity and honesty to government service. I don't know if you watched today the hearing. It was disgraceful. It was disgraceful. Hillary Clinton
is an insider who fights only for her donors and for herself. I'm an outsider, and I'm fighting for you. Believe me, I am fighting for you. One of the first things we're going to do is restore law and order to our country. We have to do it. Our good friend, Sheriff Clark, with us tonight. I want to thank him for being here, and I want to thank our great mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani. He did a great job. So loyal. New FBI statistics just released show that homicide rose 15% last year in America's large cities. It's the largest single-year increase in 45 years. More than three, you're right. More than 3,000 people have been shot in Chicago since January. Short period of time, 3,000 people. Homicides are up nearly 50% in Washington, D.C., and more than 60% in Baltimore. Across the entire nation, for cities of all sizes, small and large, the homicide rates rose by more than 10% last year. I assume they'll fact check this, but I got it right out of the books. You know, they even said I was wrong when I said that Hillary Clinton is going to allow 500% more people come in from Syria and other parts than Obama. They said, he's wrong, he's wrong, he lied, he's wrong. It wasn't 500% more, it was 550% more. So anything they can do. Oh, is the media dishonest? How dishonest are these people? Just think, how dishonest. Unbelievable. Not all, but a big, big fat percentage. So we're in a national crisis, yet my opponent, Hillary Clinton, continues to attack the police. First, she calls our supporters, many of them cops, soldiers, firefighters, deplorable and irredeemable. Then, in our debate this week, she accuses the entire country, including all of law enforcement, of implicit bias, essentially suggesting that everyone, including our police, are basically racist and prejudiced. You heard that. And I'm standing there in front of this massive crowd of people. We broke the record, you know that. I'm very honored to have broken the record. And I said to myself, did she really say that? She said it. It's a bad thing, she said. Maybe Hillary Clinton should confine her comments to herself. After all, she's the one who described young African-American men as super predators, right? Super predators. And they have not been happy about that for a long time. How can Hillary Clinton try to lead this country when she has such a low opinion of its citizens? How can she lead this country when she thinks America is full of racists, deplorables, and irredeemables? You're not irredeemable. You're not irredeemable. You're not deplorable. Boy, look at this crowd, right into every little corner, even up there. Wow, this is something. And you know what? Folks, it's this way all over the country. Look back there. People trying to get it. It's this way all over the country because people are disgusted with our government. They're sick and tired of what's going on. When they see our president authorize $400 million in cash for world terrorists, and then it turns out to be wrong. It wasn't $400 million. It was $1.7 billion in cash. That whole section of the room wouldn't be able to handle it. And then where they're going to deport 800 people. Last week, you saw this. They're going to deport them. I guess they had a reason. They couldn't have been perfect. They're going to deport 800 people. And something went wrong. And instead of deporting them, 800 people became citizens. But did you see that? But that wasn't the bad part. The bad part was that the 800 number was wrong. Now they think it's 1,800, not 800. We are being run by incompetent people. We are being run by people that don't know what they're doing. And in my opinion, Hillary Clinton is the most incompetent of all. So true. By smearing tens of millions of hardworking, decent Americans, she's rendered herself unfit to be president. She is unfit to be president. All you have to do is go back home and watch what happened today when they were talking about the email scandal. And you look at what happened with the FBI testifying, the director, and you look at what happened today with the FBI director testifying, and you'll say, this is not the country that we know and love. What's happening to our country is a shame. Hillary Clinton lacks the character and judgment to hold public office. Bernie Sanders said that. She has bad judgment. She has nothing but hostility in her heart for hardworking Americans of all backgrounds who just want to live in safety, security, and peace. The police officers she attacks are the same people of all colors and nationalities who race into danger every day to save the lives of totally complete strangers, people they've never met before. Those fostering the dangerous anti-police atmosphere in this country share directly in the blame for the violence and chaos that threatens our most vulnerable citizens. My agenda of reducing crime will benefit all Americans, but those who will benefit most are African American and Hispanic American citizens living in high crime communities. And people in Milwaukee, they're going to love Donald Trump. We're going to have safety. We're going to have safety. We're going to have safety. We're going to save thousands of lives. The special interests, the arrogant media, and the political insiders don't want me to talk about the crime that's happening in our country and in our inner cities. They don't want you to know about the hurt and pain that's happening to our fellow citizens. They want me to just go along with the same failed policies that have caused so much needless suffering and so much preventable heartache. Well, I have news for the people trying to silence me and you and everybody else. Not going to happen. We. It's all about we. This is a movement, folks. This is a movement like they've never seen in this country before. This is a movement that they've never seen before. We will never back down from fighting to save American lives. I will never back down from fighting to save America's inner cities. The only people Hillary Clinton ever fights for are the special interests who write checks for her, big, fat, beautiful checks. I don't know if you saw that one report came out that she is going to have commercials, very dishonest commercials. The commercials she puts on are very, very dishonest. A little bit of them's right, but for the most part. Very, very dishonest. Did you see it? 50-1. 50-1. I mean, even now I turn on the television, I long to see an Ivory Snow commercial. Long. But with her, it's about follow the money. Remember that phrase. Check it out on the internet. Check it out. It's really trending big league. Follow the money. Hillary Clinton has been a disaster for so many communities, but especially for African American communities. I don't think African Americans are going to come out and vote for Clinton. They're too smart, and they know they're being used. They know it. They also know that she'll do nothing for them once the election is over. She never does, and that will never, ever change. Same thing goes for Hispanic voters. They're tired of being used by people like Hillary Clinton that have no intention of doing anything for them once the election is over. 58% of African American youth are not working. There's another shooting in Chicago every 2 hours. Every 2 hours. 45% of African American children under the age of 6 are living in poverty. The inner cities have been left behind. Crime is through the roof. Public education is a total disaster. There are no jobs. It's dangerous to walk down the street with your child. To the African American community, I say, what the hell do you have to lose? I will fix it. Vote for me. I will fix it. I will fight for you harder than anyone has ever fought for you before. Thank you. Thank you. Everything you need to know about Hillary Clinton can be understood with that simple phrase that we just used. Yes, crooked is another one, but I wasn't referring to that. Again, we're saying follow the money. The large corporations who support terrible trade deals, that offshore jobs, they're donating big, big money to Hillary Clinton. Follow the money. The Wall Street investors who have rigged the regulations against the middle class, they're donating to Hillary Clinton. Follow the money. The wealthy donors who want to shut down American energy, they're donating to crooked Hillary Clinton. Follow the money. The special interests who want open borders for cheap labor, and you see what's happening. You see what's happening with real unemployment, not the phony unemployment numbers that you read. Real unemployment. People that can't get jobs and have given up looking for jobs. Follow the money. She and her financial backers will say anything, do anything, lie about anything. By the way, did anybody ever lie so much as she lied about her phony emails? Did anybody? In front of United States Congress, by the way. To keep their grip on power, to keep their control over this country. In her campaign for president, Hillary Clinton has received $100 million in contributions from Wall Street and hedge funds. And folks, I'm spending my money. I'm spending a lot. But we're being helped by the small donors. And yesterday, because of the tremendous success of the debate, we raised almost $18 million, which is a record for our campaign. Amazing. One day, 18 million in one day. $18 million in one day. She received $4.1 million for speaking fees from financial firms, and she doesn't speak well, let's face it. You know, if she came here, instead of this massive crowd that's pouring outside and everywhere, she'd probably have, what, 300 people? Well, she's coming. Isn't she coming tomorrow or the next time? See how many people. See how many people she has. She and Bill received a total of $150 million in speaking fees from special interests since Bill left office. It's all part of the rigged system being run at your expense. The same groups paying Bill and Hillary for their speeches were lobbying the federal government. 22 groups paying Bill Clinton for speeches lobbied the State Department while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State. And don't forget that Clinton contributors who were appointed to advisory boards by Secretary Clinton or all of the favors and access granted to those who provided funds. She even gave up 20% of America's uranium supply to Russia. to Russia. You know what people do with uranium, don't you? It's called nuclear. 20%. Could have never done it without her. She put the office of Secretary of State up for sale. And if she ever got the chance, she'd put the Oval Office up for sale also. She deleted and bleached, a very expensive process, 33,000 emails after a congressional subpoena was served, not before. She deleted, remember, 33,000 and bleached after it was, they get the subpoena, they say, oh, wow, here's a subpoena. Let's delete all of the emails. If you're being sued by your neighbor and you do that, you know what happens to you, right? Thirteen phones. 13. Does anybody in this room, like over the last number of years, has anybody in this room had 13 phones? Okay. A number of them were hammered to death, right? They were hammered. So let me ask you, has anybody, when you got rid of your phone, hammered it? Raise your hand. One. Oh, there's one guy. What business are you in? What business? I want to get him out of here. I don't want to be near. Her staffers taking the Fifth Amendment, think of this, over and over, and her ringleaders getting immunity deals, okay? 5 people, including the guy that put in the illegal server, right? I want the Fifth Amendment. I want immunity. The reason they get immunity is because they did something wrong. They didn't do anything wrong. They don't think in terms of immunity. 5 people. Folks, I'm telling you, nobody's ever seen anything like this in this country's history. In this country's history, you want America back? I want America back. Sad. It's sad. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable, but it's sad. Remember this. People's lives have been destroyed, ruined for one little fraction of what she's done. You can look at General Petraeus. You can look at others. Their lives have been destroyed for doing something so much less. 2%, 5%, 10%. And you look at what happened with her, it's a disgrace. Foreign enemies with easy access to hack her server. That's what happened. People had easy access. It was on other people's phones. It was all over the place. Very important information all over. Lies to Congress, under oath, about turning over her work-related emails. The American people have had it with years and decades of Clinton scandals and their total corruption. Their total corruption. This year will be the year the American people say enough is enough. It's going to be November 8th, get out and vote. Hillary Clinton is a vessel for the special interests trying to strip this country of its wealth, its jobs, and its status as a sovereign nation. Does anybody think that our nation is respected like it once was? She's a globalist who has made a career of taking jobs from our country and giving them to other countries. I am not running to be president of the world. I'm running to be president of the United States. From now on, it's going to be America first. These special interests totally control Hillary Clinton. She's their chosen representative. You can disregard everything she says and just remember that phrase, Follow the money. She's there for only one reason, to protect her donors and collect money. Look, just take a look. Her career, just look, what's she done for other people? She's failed in so many different things. And the other night at the debate, it hit me more than it's ever hit me. She's saying what she's going to do here. She couldn't make an answer on the police. It was a horrible answer. She didn't want to say law and order. She didn't want to go too far anyway, so she's trying to weave a little pattern. And I said to myself, you know, she's been talking about these things for 30 years. Think of it, 30 years, and nothing gets done. Oh, well, they have a right to do that, don't they? One person, and tomorrow headlines, protester, right? She's failed at everything. She failed in Iraq, in Libya, in Syria, in Iran, in Egypt. She failed on ISIS. In fact, she unleashed ISIS onto the world by leaving a vacuum that should have never been left, along with President Obama that doesn't have a clue. She failed in upstate New York, promising 200,000 jobs, but instead the jobs kept leaving. She never produced the jobs. She ran, I'll never forget it, she ran for the Senate, and she talked about jobs, jobs. The day she got elected, that was the end of jobs. She couldn't have cared less. All she did was name, during her whole term, a post office, a highway, and something else. 3 names. She failed the inner cities. She failed women and children. The only people Hillary Clinton has ever delivered for are her donors. Our campaign is taking on big business, big media, and big donors. We're taking them on for you. That's why I'm into this thing for many millions. Where am I? Over 60 million now. Over 60. Oh, am I going to feel badly if on November 8th? Can you imagine? You know, one of the commentators the other day said, it doesn't matter if Trump wins or loses. It's been one of the most incredible things we've ever seen politically. He said it's a political phenomenon. I said to myself, no, no, no. If we don't win, it will be one of the great wastes of time, energy, and money. Certainly in my life, that I can tell you. Certainly in my life, we have to win. I'm not owned or controlled by anybody. My loyalty is to you and to nobody else. You. Nobody else. I will fight for you. My economic agenda can be summed up in 3, to me, very, very beautiful words. Jobs, jobs, jobs. And we're going to bring back our jobs. We will cut your taxes. She's going to raise your taxes. We will reduce substantially regulations which are killing people and killing the farmers and killing the energy companies. And I've seen them, and they are ridiculous, okay? We're going to cut them. She's going to increase them. We are going to negotiate great, great trade deals. And we're going to do things with NAFTA because NAFTA, signed by her husband, will go down as the single worst trade deal, not in the history of our country, probably in the history of the world. That's how bad it is. We're going to unleash American energy, and we're going to repeal and replace Obamacare, which is a total disaster. We are also going to end Common Core and offer school choice to every disadvantaged child, including every poor Hispanic and African American child in America. We will put every kid on the ladder of American success. A great education and a great job that they love going to early every morning. They're going to love it. There is nothing like a great job. The people getting rich off the rigged system. And remember, I used that a long time. Now it's become commonplace, the word rigged system. I used that when I was winning states and getting less delegates than the people I was beating. But I didn't let it go on for long, did I? We changed our rigged system, and hence here we are. And we are going to make sure that the people throwing all of these hundreds of millions of dollars at Hillary Clinton aren't going to get their way, okay? Our campaign is about breaking up the special interest monopoly in Washington, D.C. We're trying to disrupt the collusion between the wealthy donors, the large corporations, the media executives. We're going to be able to do it. They're all part of the same rigged political establishment. They go to the same restaurants. They attend the same conferences. They have the same friends. Actually, I'm one of them in a few cases. Sorry about that. And they all are in for a big reckoning on November 8th. A big, big, big reckoning. Thank you. And thank you, by the way, to Tommy Thompson. Did you see the whole group of people he produced today? He's got so many wonderful people. I won't say establishment types, but they are. And that's okay. But I want to thank Tommy Thompson. You know, I have to tell you this story. I was here 3 months ago, and I was speaking, and I get a call from Tommy. He's a great guy. He really is an amazing guy. A lot of energy. But Tommy was here. And I get a call, Don, could I come over and see you? And I was about 15 points down, right? 15. So he calls me, about 3. And he said, can I see you? He comes in, he goes, Don, I really like you. Get the hell out of here. I said, why? He said, you're not going to win this state. I said, but I think I can. We have unbelievable, no, he said it. He said, but if things change, I'll call you. But I'm telling you, Don, go to Pennsylvania. Go to Ohio. I understand exactly. Go to Florida, where we're leading. Go there. Spend your time. Wisconsin's going to be tough. Go there. But if anything changes, I'll call you, right? So now what happens? Very interesting. He's a great guy. So I get a call about 2 weeks ago. Don, time to come back. 2 points. 2 points. He said, time to come back. He saw 1 at 2, he saw 1 at 3, and I'm back. And we're going to win Wisconsin. We're going to win Wisconsin. But I want to thank him because he's brought so many great people into our whole thing. I mean, it's amazing what's going on. Government, for us, is going to start working again. Fixing things is what I do. Just look at my projects in New York and around the world where I revitalized neighborhoods and really lifted up skylines. And I'm not saying that as a bragging thing. The New York Post did a fantastic article recently. I'm saying it because that's the kind of thinking we need in our country. The world is ripping us off, folks. The world is ripping us off. But that's what I want to do for our country. I want to go into every neighborhood and unlock their potential for all of our people. Not just a group, for all of our people. Together, we can accomplish anything we want, but that means showing up. You gotta show up. I don't care if you're so sick, you get out of bed. You just get out of bed, you crawl into the bathroom, you put on that shirt or whatever you're wearing, get out and vote, then you can come back to bed and hopefully get better quickly, okay? Early voting is already underway, right? Wisconsin, right? You have to knock on those doors. You have to pick up the phone. You have to get all your friends out. You have to watch what's going on because this is a dirty business. This is a very, very dirty business. You know what I mean? Watch what's going on. You have to campaign on the streets, spread the love. The love that we have in this room, it's going to be spread all over the country. We're going to be united again as a country, all races, rich and less than rich. We're going to be united all over the country. To beat the system, you have to lift up your voice, pound the pavement, and get out the vote. Visit our website if you want. I hate to put that in the speech. It sounds so trivial, but I guess it's true. Visit our website, okay? You know it. You have 6 weeks, right? 6 weeks. Can you believe? June 16th, coming down the escalator with Melania. You never saw so many reporters. You never saw so many cameras. And I sort of took a deep breath. I said, we have to do it. You look at the Iran deal. You look at our military being hurt so badly. It's being depleted. Our jet fighters, they go to graveyards. They go to plane graveyards and museums to get parts because they don't make the parts anymore. They're so old. This is the United States of America. We have to rebuild our... We don't have a choice. This isn't like, let's think about it. Our military is depleted. Our people are the greatest people on earth. We're going to give them the kind of equipment, not to use, hopefully, that when the enemy looks at us, they're saying, we're not going to mess with them. Okay? We don't want to use it. We don't want to use it. So we have 6 weeks to make every dream you ever dreamed for your country come true. You have one last magnificent chance to deliver justice for every forgotten man and forgotten woman and child in this nation. Don't let it slip away. We have one chance. This is it. We don't have 4 more years. We don't have 4 more years. They'll start appointing justices of the Supreme Court. Remember that. Supreme Court justice. We lost a great one, Judge Scalia. We can't let it slip away. I don't believe, I really mean this, I don't believe we're ever going to have this chance again. I don't believe this is it. And it's tough. It's tough. The odds were really against us. Remember the odds? I started at 1%, I went to 3%, I went to 6%, I went to 20%. Today, somebody put down, very respected, the odds, 54%. And I think they're biased. But I don't say that. I always like to say 40%. I don't want to talk about it. Assume it's 40, okay? We don't have to brag about odds. Let's assume it's 40, okay? Let's go out and win, because the only thing that matters is to win. Stand up and be heard for your family, for your city, for your country. The arrogance of Washington, D.C. will soon come face to face with the righteous verdict of the American voter. On November 8th, we're going to show the whole world that America is back, bigger and better and stronger than ever, ever, ever before, right? Here are just some of the things that will happen starting in January of 2017. I'm going to lower your taxes massively. Hillary Clinton is going to raise your taxes, and she says it. We're going to eliminate all of the unnecessary regulations. Some we need for the environment, we need for safety. But there's so much. It's become a big business. Hillary Clinton wants to add more and more regulation. We're going to repeal and replace Obamacare. We're going to unleash American energy. We're going to end illegal immigration. We're going to build the wall, and Mexico is going to pay for the wall 100%. And we're going to have great relations with Mexico. We don't have them right now. And they're ripping us off. I mean, their leaders are much smarter than ours, to put it nicely. Look, we have massive trade deficits with Mexico. They're making a fortune. I'm not even talking about on the border what's happening there. We have massive trade deficits. They will pay for the wall, 100%. It's a one-way street. You saw Ford Motor Company? They're going to make all of their small cars. You know what that means? All of their small cars are going to be made in Mexico. You look at all of the companies, Carrier Air Conditioning. I mean, as you're standing here, they're negotiating deals to take companies out of our country and move them to Mexico. A friend of mine builds plants. He's one of the biggest in the world. And he tells me how well he's doing in Mexico. He's building some of the greatest plants anywhere in the world in Mexico. What about the United States? Well, not so much. Not going to happen that way. We're going to reverse it. And we're going to have a great relationship with Mexico. And the Mexican people are amazing. I have so many friends. The Mexican people are amazing people. But what's happening is their leadership and what they've been doing to us for so many years. It's incredible that we can allow people to get away. We're not going to have a country. Our manufacturing is cut. You go up to New England. You go to New York State, where Hillary Clinton failed so badly. You go to places here. You go to Pennsylvania. You go to Ohio. You go to Florida. Take a look at what's going on. We're going to also keep radical Islamic terrorists out of our country. We're going to save the Second Amendment. We're going to support the men and women of law enforcement. As I said, we're going to appoint great justices to the United States Supreme Court who will uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States. We will rebuild our roads, our bridges, our tunnels, our highways, our airports, our schools, our hospitals. We're going to rebuild our infrastructure. American cars will travel the roads, American planes will soar the skies, and American ships will patrol the seas. American steel will send skyscrapers into the clouds. American hands will build this nation. American energy, harvested from American sources, will power our nation again. American workers will be hired to do the job. We will put new American steel into the spine of our country. I will fight every day for neglected parts of this nation, and I will fight to bring us all together, unify as Americans. Imagine what our country could accomplish if we started working together as one people under one God, saluting one American flag. It's time to break with the bitter failures of the past, and we have had tremendous failures. We don't win anymore. When was the last time you saw our country win? Look at the ship we had with the people from Iran in their little dinghies circling, taunting. Or they grab our 10 sailors because they're a little bit in their waters. Or they fly near our planes. They're taunting us. They become emboldened because they don't respect us and they don't respect our leader. We're going to enhance and we're going to really make our country, and I mean that, and I said it before and I'll say it always, always, because I've gotten to know the people of our great nation. We have the greatest people. We're going to make our nation better than ever before. We're going to have an inclusive and prosperous American future. Everybody, inclusive, everybody is going to partake. Once more, we will have a government of, by, and for the people. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. God bless you, everybody. God bless you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.